welcome to another episode of Space Engineers. I'm Will from Steadfast Gaming, and I know that y'all have been waiting for this one for a while. I'm going to be focusing primarily on Space Engineers from here on out, since it's what y'all want content on the most. Today is going to be a little bit different of an episode than the last two. My first was a beginner's tutorial, some of which is now out of date, and my second was an enormous build project that I did by myself before the addition of small ship welders and grinders. This massive project put me off the game for a while, but you just can't stay angry at Space Engineers for too long. This episode will be a let's play of sorts as Steadfast moves into the online PvP realm. My first two videos definitely cater to the building and creative side of the game. This episode explores the PvP aspect of the game, and you'll see a whole lot of murdering and pirating here. As you can see here, I immediately went to work searching for asteroids. I found several, mostly unoccupied save the wreckage of abandoned starter ships. Third time is a charm, however, and I quickly find someone who was foolish enough to build a base directly on the asteroid itself. You always want to build your base into deep space. If you haven't played online, you might be wondering to yourself how you would ever find a deep space base again if you ever left. The answer lies in the coordinate system installed on most servers. On my screen you will note the X, Y, and Z coordinates, indicating where I am down to the meter in this expansive map. The center of this map is where all three coordinate beacons read 900,000, 900,000, 900,000. The rest of the asteroids are laid out in a grid pattern every 10 kilometers, or 10,000 meters. I park my starter ship on the opposite side of the asteroid from my target, and access the hatch. Most starter ships have the materials required for a medical bay, nuclear reactor, refinery, and assembler. I place my medical bay in the tunnel to be less obvious, but am found out before I even finish it. Not wanting to lose the advantage of surprise in case I was outnumbered, I quickly fly through the tunnels and out the other side. I spot their medical bay and get to grinding. He makes the mistake of pulling out a gun, which are completely useless at this stage in the game. Always use your grinder in a PvP situation. After disposing of the enemy astronaut, I grind the medical bay down past the blue line, then rebuild it, thus claiming it for myself. This is a multiplayer function called hacking. Now I have two medical bays on this asteroid and he has none. His only option, unless he's made an emergency bay nearby, is to respawn in a new rescue ship and fly back. I make it priority to hack his small ship in case I need to make a quick getaway. On multiplayer servers, trying to access someone else's blocks will result in an access denied message until you hack it and claim it as your own. I make certain to rebuild the cockpit all the way back up so that he can't grind me out of it very easily. Grinding enemy blocks takes much longer than grinding your own. You will find that once you pass the blue line of ownership, your progress will increase dramatically. The ship now my own, I hack his cargo container, assembler, refinery, and anything else that might contain precious loot in this unforgiving environment. After surveying my spoils, I hop into my new mining vessel and circle around to the rescue ship. Wanting to waste nothing at this stage in the game, I collect the contents of the cargo containers and strip the rescue ship down to its bare armor blocks, packing it all into the ship's new cargo hold. I make some modifications to the ship and orbit back around the platform. It's now time to pack the entire enemy station into the new ship. I head into deep space, picking a random direction and maxing out the thrusters. I then cruise for 10 to 15 minutes with the dampeners off, then come to a stop and begin construction of my own station. The most important thing to add to your station after a medical bay and power source is a beacon. It doesn't have to be fully built, so one steel plate is all that you need. Rename it as soon as possible, but don't activate it, as that would draw the attention of pirates. The beacon will prevent your station from being deleted when the server cleans up space trash. I add a cockpit and expand the platform some more, making room for the large cargo container. I make certain that all of my hatches are touching for easy inventory management. Those that are not will be connected with conveyor tubes shortly. A gravity generator is also added, but it is not activated as it is an incredible fuel sink. It can also be incredibly dangerous when offloading goods. I'm already beginning to get deja vu from my last large build, so I grind the drill off of my new ship and add a small ship welder to speed the process up. I stack another refinery on top of the first and get to working on the walls of the station, laying out the simple design. The space cube now completely enclosed, I load the welding ship with steel plates and get to work. The entire process takes much less time than I anticipated. I had not used a welding ship before, and I can only imagine how quickly a better designed one might fare. A connector is added so as to be accessible from the outside of the station. It is then connected to the ship's inventory via a conveyor tube. A connector is also added to the small ship for easy loading and unloading. Once the outer armor is complete, I begin to work on the interior, adding as many turrets as I can jam into the small space. Anyone entering, no matter the angle, would find themselves riddled with bullets. Not just bullets though, space bullets. The space cube now complete, it's time to go out and look for more resources. I make my way to the nearest asteroid, only to find it claimed by an unfriendly faction. My ship is immediately targeted by their satellite guns, and I desperately change course. Once out of range, I moved to open my control panel and mistakenly pressed T rather than K, as I have both bound to my gaming mouse. This ejects me from my cockpit, and due to sync issues associated with any Space Engineers server, I spend the next 20 minutes trying to get back into my ship. Eventually it runs me down and I'm sent back to the space cube to consider my options. I don't have enough resources to craft another workable ship. I'm also somewhat furious at the enemy faction, so there's really only one option. Keep flying at them until I find the weak spot in their defenses. The first time doesn't go so well. The second time, however, yields considerably more fruit. I am able to scout out their station in a large green ship before getting gunned down. The third time, I worm my way past their defenses and into the center of their asteroid, where I scout out an enemy astronaut. I try to hide, but he spots me and I'm forced to make a move. I fly towards the large gray ship in the distance, hoping to seek cover inside and grind him down in the tight quarters. It's at this point that the enemy's guns begin to malfunction. You will note that I'm hit squarely several times while trying to maneuver into the ship. While I do not take damage, the barrage of space bullets pushes me away from the turret who fired them. They also serve to make me an easy target for the grinder-wielding astronaut. The server crashes and I log out for a few hours. When I return late at night, I decide to visit them again, thinking them likely offline by now. On my way to their asteroid, I spot blotches in the distance. Upon closer investigation, I see that it is a series of ships parked around a station. I explore around them, looking for a weak spot that would let me through. Thankfully, there are no satellite guns here. The only turrets I had to worry about here came from a centralized point, making avoiding the fire much easier. The best tip I can give you in a situation like this is to press C and the spacebar alternately and constantly. It seems to throw the tracking system off on turrets at the moment. I see a blind spot and move in, seeking cover behind their own station. I peek around the edge and spot their medical bay, then cut through the station and harvest it for myself. Now armed with a medical station within their defenses, I decide to fly around them until their ammo is exhausted. Their ammo depleted, I move in, claiming the 3 small ships parked here as my own. I proceed to the large ships and immediately recognize this one from the asteroid base. It's a very well designed ship that I wish I had gotten better footage of. The entire rear section of this large fighter separates from the front portion, providing an escape pod of sorts in a combat situation. I'm so stunned by this find that the sheer scale of the large mining ship before me escaped my attention until this point. Armed with 55 large drills, this planet cracker would be capable of eating entire asteroids in a matter of hours, and completely explain the rest of the fleet parked here. She has a surprising amount of thrust for having so much mass. After renaming the ship to the USG Ishimura, I exit the new mining vessel and begin rummaging around through their cargo in the main station. Literal tons of goods are stored here, enough to keep the fleet production up for a very long time. Loaded down with more resources than one astronaut could ever hope to use, I add landing gear to the bottom of each small ship and attach them to the Ishimura. The ship's now secured, I head out to the Steadfast space cube to park them and return. Before even leaving the enemy compound, the sync issues rear their ugly head again, and a small ship breaks free, shattering on the hull of the much larger ship. I quickly come to a halt and move the 2 remaining ships back to the station. I'll come back for them later. Once she's safe and sound back at the base, I suicide with the backspace button and respawn back at the enemy space. I remove the landing gear from the bottom of both remaining small ships, and grind each of the thrusters down on the bottoms before adding merge blocks. Now one slightly larger small ship, I fly them back to the base for safekeeping. I leave them their large gray fighter ship and enough supplies to get going again, and return to their asteroid base to see if they have anything of value. The guns are malfunctioning again, but they serve to smash me into the rock before I make it to cover. I like the look of this green ship and bide my time, looking for the best method of entry. I decide my best bet is to grind through the bottom of the hull, as going to either side would cause me to get blasted off into deep space. Once inside, I patch up the hole and claim the medical bay. Now invulnerable if a bit slow, I go about blasting the annoying satellite guns with the ship's thrusters and check out the main station on the asteroid. It's pretty much empty. They had moved everything to the deep space base. I finish the green ship and fly it home, settling in among the fleet assembled before me. There's only one thing left that I needed: a crew. And that's where you come in. Steadfast Gaming is opening a dedicated server just for you. You've all been excellent, supporting me when my schedule is so crazy and when I've only done a handful of videos. I can't wait to play with and meet you all. The server will start out with 32 slots, including 32 TeamSpeak slots. I will be serving as an admin, but also plan on playing with you all for at least a couple of hours each night. I will be streaming live to Twitch for those of you who can't join us, and of course the highlights will continue to be posted here on YouTube. I'm not exactly sure how to handle the Steadfast faction. I'm sure that most of you will want to be in it, but having an entire server on one team doesn't seem optimal. Perhaps a red versus blue scenario, 2 main factions evenly numbered with the rest being random pirates. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and most of all, share with your friends if you enjoyed yourself. The more feedback and circulation we get, the more content we can bring you. I'll see you around the solar system.